That's what we're here for, to make a safe space for athletes. We want to make sure that they have a place that they can say whatever they want, speak their mind, and then we can be able to get into the real of what's happening behind the scenes, right? And if you want to join the community, we'll be able to be in the locker room. Here's the beauty of joining the locker room. If you're a part of the locker room and you're one of the jockeys, guess what? You've been able to see the entire stream, no interruptions. All right? That's what you want to be able to do. You want to get in the locker room. You'll be able to see all of this. Once we start the after-hour show coming tomorrow, maybe later on this week, you'll be able to see everything unfiltered, and we'll give you a little sneak peek. All right? So for today, what we're doing is we're letting you see the first real athlete that you haven't even heard of, right? He's our co-host here, right? He's played great times over at UCLA. He's also spent almost a decade playing as a professional basketball player, right? Here we have our co-host here, Anthony Stover. Everybody give it up for Anthony Stover. Yeah. There's a studio audience actually here, all right? There's actually people here. All right, so Stove, talk to me, man. You're a person, let the audience know, where are you from?
Pasadena, California, born and raised.
Okay, repping from Cali.
Yeah.
Who else is from Pasadena, bro?
Professional basketball player wise?
Yeah, let's start there and then we'll go to some celebrities.
Yeah, well, off the top of my head, Ryan Hollins, who only was from Pasadena, but also went to UCLA the same way I did.
Okay, shout out the Bruins. Shout out the Bruins. One of my favorite players, Reggie Miller, went to UCLA. So
yes, of course.
There you go. Shout out to you.
If we go down the Bruins list, we'd be sitting here talking for hours.
That's a 2-hour show in itself.
Exactly.
I mean, oh my gosh. Okay, bet. I like it. Pasadena, California, born and raised. Did you live other places outside of that, or?
Well, my dad is from Inglewood, California.
Okay.
So my grandparents were always down there. And then after moving out of Pasadena, my junior year of high school, after my junior year of high school, we're in L.A., Ladera Heights area, right off of Slauson and La Brea.
Hey, I'm not even from Cali, but I know Slauson. That is worldwide known, okay? So bet he was in the streets, for those who don't know. Now, that takes me to a little bit of things, right? Most people, they didn't grow up around 7-footers, right? For those who don't know, you probably can't tell. This guy is legit. He's a 7-footer here. Now, I know you weren't born that way. Right. So talk to me a little bit about childhood, growing up. What was your height like? How was it like growing up in a situation where, you're becoming yourself?
Well, early on, I'll say throughout elementary school, I was taller than most other kids, but maybe like an inch or two.
Okay.
It wasn't something ridiculous. But it was actually the summer between my 7th and 8th grade where things kind of made a huge change. I grew 6.5, almost 7 inches. So I think it was about 5'9.5", almost 5'10", leaving the 7th grade, and then entering the 8th grade, I was 6'4".
Holy, bro! So you're literally telling me 7th to 8th grade, you were my height now as an adult. You were like, you know what? Let me stretch out a little bit.
Yeah, man, it was one crazy summer. Well, it was a summer full of sleeping for me.
I can imagine.
My mom could probably tell you that I woke up, ate food, went back to sleep.
Wow, he was taking a lot of naps. Now, speaking of sleep, I know you were saying you had somebody you want to give a shout out to that should be asleep right about now.
Yeah, my son Sage. If you guys are live, Mom, if you guys are watching this at home right now, Sage, it's bedtime.
Go get some sleep like Pops did so you can go ahead and get his height as well.
Yeah, you need to grow into that body you have coming in.
There we go. I see he was already in the pool, right? He's already getting in shape.
Oh, man, he's very active. If we're not at swimming class, he's running back and forth at the house nonstop.
I love it. We'll probably get into a little bit later in the show where the other half of he might have got that from. But if you're watching on IG Live, you better come on over to Rumble. We're not going to be on there that long. You might want to come over if you want to get more information. But we're still in the childhood now. We're still in the childhood, and it seems like this man grew so much. He had to get new jeans. Sorry, Mama. He had to get a whole new outfit almost every week.
Oh man, my shoes grew with my age.
Holy.
My shoe size, so as 11-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, my shoes were going right there with me. They just happened to stop at 17.
Wow. Oh, my God. Ladies, listen up. Now, that takes me into the spot where I know all this time you were playing basketball. You had to have been. When did you really start?
Well, I've always played basketball, like even as like a very little kid, YMCA leagues, and what we had was called Brotherhood Crusade back in Pasadena.
Okay.
But it's just those little rec leagues. And it wasn't until about 9th grade until I got into AAU basketball. But before then, in rec leagues, and I fell in love in the game and watching the game on TV. Magic Johnson's my favorite player, so like I fell in love with the game very early on. But
Yeah.
then I took it more and more seriously coming up to my freshman year.
Okay, no, I like that. Did your parents ever play basketball, or were they athletes?
Yeah, my dad was a basketball player.
Okay.
He actually played at Pepperdine University for a little bit.
Hey,
Yeah, he had
shout
his
out PU.
Yeah, and then my mom was actually a triple jumper.
Wow.
Yeah, she held the triple jump record at her high school for almost over 20 years.
Wow.
And she was this close to making them Olympic trials too. If I'm get that wrong, Mom, I'm sorry. But maybe she was in the trials.
Yeah.
But she was right there for triple jumping.
Shout out to you, Mama. We know you are already one of our biggest fans.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking forward to the drinks of the day. There's going to be a specific person that's helping us out with that, but the main component is Mama Stover, if you didn't know. All right, so I love that, man. So you got the athletic genes, essentially, naturally.
A little bit. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
I got the jumper from Mom and the height from Dad.
There it is. It sets you up easily for basketball.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So you're saying you really got into it once you got into high school.
Yeah.
All right, so what high school did you go to?
So originally I went to a very small school called Renaissance Academy, and it was located in La Cunada, California, which is just outside of Pasadena.
Yeah, yeah.
And then after that, I went to Windward School in Los Angeles. And that was just for my senior year.
Oh, wow. So first 3 years, you were kind of in like our hometown school.
Yeah, kind of. It was a private school that was right outside of Pasadena.
Yeah.
And the head coach was actually from Pasadena, and he had all the players on the team were mostly from the area.
Why the switch?
Well, private school, you got kind of a little more control about the guys that you can play against. And then also the education is a little bit better outside of public schools that are offered in not just Pasadena, but the greater LA area.
Yeah.
So you want to get the best education you possibly can.
No, I can see
and
that.
my parents agreed upon, like, this is the best education, go private. My
Okay.
sister actually went into private school in the 7th grade.
Yeah.
I had some experiences with different private schools in the 7th and 8th grade, but then went into Renaissance my freshman year, and then that led me into senior year at Windward, where we won the state title. So.
Yes, sir. I like that. I like that. I understand the private world. Like I grew up in private school literally all of my education, minus 2 years. I went to public school, got to be seen on my track scholarships, nowhere near the stuff that you guys were doing. We might have met up earlier. I had some looks from USC, so who knows? We might have been seeing each other, but
We'd have been rivals, though.
yeah, you never know. You know, you can't stop this type of bond, so you would have been cool either way. But I like the fact that you were really introduced to the whole world, and you were able to see the different, let's say, transitions of what sports can do. Now, a question that comes to my mind is, with you being so tall, starting early, did you possibly get different looks when you were at a private school versus when you switched schools?
What do you mean by looks exactly?
From universities.
I think that wherever I was going to get those looks.
Yeah.
But private school kind of gives those universities an edge into saying that there is a proper education. So I don't have to worry about, is this kid going to get the right grades or is he going to get the right SAT scores? It's because those private schools actually give the education and prepare you for those things.
No, I love that, man. You're really giving us a little snippet into what post-game is really all about. So we're going to get back into that. That's more going to be like our second quarter of this entire conversation. But you understood at a young age that there was much more to go into becoming a professional than your talent.
Right. Well, I have to give it to my parents as well. They knew that education was first. That's even why I ended up going to UCLA. It's one of the best educations you can get in the world for a university.
Absolutely.
So my parents were, yes, basketball is your thing, but education is first.
I like that.
Leading into private schools, and then, like I said, going into UCLA eventually.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I like that. And being able to have a family that's going to help, guide you around the way, it doesn't get much better than that.
Oh, of course. The support system that I get from my family, outside of my parents, my grandparents, cousins, families, friends, people I grew up with, my support system has always been strong. And I think that had a lot to do with the success that I actually experienced.
Oh, I love that, man. I love that. The family unit, quite honestly, is the foundation for success. Sometimes you have to supplement other people in, because we do live in a time where you're not obviously granted those things all the time, but I'm glad that you were able to be provided that. When you're talking about family, I heard you bring up your sister. Do you have other siblings?
Yeah, I have an older sister and then a younger brother.
Okay, nice, nice. Are they both in sports?
My sister, she kind of got out of sports in high school, and she just does her thing in L.A., been managing Trader Joe's for I don't know how long. But and then my younger brother, he actually still plays to this day.
Nice.
Matter of fact, he is probably just waking up out in Indonesia right now.
Nice. So he's playing pro right now in Indonesia.
Yeah.
Same height.
Huh?
Same height?
As me?
Yeah.
Oh no, my brother's a little bit shorter.
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
tallest
yeah.
in the family. My brother is about 6'7", which is the height of my dad. So,
Okay.
And then my sister was about 5'10", which is around the height of my mom.
Oh, look at
So
that.
I'm just the one that kind of like sprung up a little extra.
Yeah, it was meant for you, bro. It was meant for you. So speaking of things that were meant for you, it sounds like you know, you were getting a lot of looks, right? You're coming in through high school. You obviously were getting a little taller. When you transferred senior year, how tall were you at that point?
About 6'9".
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you were almost at the peak, right? But you're getting a lot of looks from that point, right?
Yep.
Okay. So tell me about that, let's say, journey. When you're in that senior year, what were the different experiences that you were going through like?
Well, senior year was a little bit different than sophomore and junior.
Okay.
Simply because sophomore and junior year were when I was really getting heavily recruited. And senior year, by the time basketball season even started, I was narrowing down my choices.
Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back to sophomore/junior year. You're coming in. You just had the huge growth rate as a freshman. When is the first time you got actually a letter or you got some type of scouting where you realized, holy shit, they're looking at me?
Funny enough, it was I think it was the summer leading to my sophomore year, or maybe it was the summer after, one of the two.
Okay.
But I was invited to come to the Double Pump Camp, which was a big-time basketball camp in Southern California. All the best of best go there.
Yeah.
And while I was at that camp, I was playing my butt off. And after one of these games, a coach from Pepperdine comes over to me and was like, "We're interested in you.
Yes, sir.
We're seeing what you're doing." And that was the first kind of acknowledgement from a coach directly. But then letters and everything started flooding in.
Yeah, that's when the shoebox starts filling up.
The shoebox. I'm pretty sure we still have that shoebox.
You have to, right? Like for those who don't know, as an athlete, when you're growing up and you're starting to become highly touted, you have to start keeping these letters somewhere.
Of course.
Right? There's not too many places that you can put them. It's a bunch of envelopes. It's a lot of paper. Where the are you going to put that? Sorry for YouTube. We'll edit that out for you guys. But Rumble, welcome on over. Where are you going to put all this stuff, right? So instead of having a huge U-Haul box, you have a multiple shoe boxes.
Multiple shoe boxes.
So just so people understand how highly touted you were, how many shoe boxes do you guys think you filled up?
Whew. We threw away more stuff than we kept in shoe boxes.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I'm sure we're probably down to like 4 shoe boxes left, but I'm
Yeah.
sure at one point maybe 16, 17. And these are little letters
Yeah.
filling up these shoe boxes.
Oh my gosh. That means literally every university was looking after this guy, right? They were trying to have him come on over. And when that happens, it becomes, you know, we're in NIL times. So it becomes a bidding war.
Yeah.
Right. At that time, maybe it wasn't known as name, image, and likeness, but it was there.
Yeah, it was
right.
there.
We're all very aware. So maybe you can give us a little more insight. Like, what were some of the things? Give us like maybe your top 2 craziest stories that you had to experience with coming into the bidding war of a 7-footer.
Well, there wasn't too many crazy experiences, but I will say that once the letters started coming in and coaches were able, back at this time, they were able to text you.
Oh wow.
They were actually able to send you text
How
messages.
did they
and
get
call
your
you.
number?
Good question. Probably through my AAU coaches or something like that.
Yeah.
But they were able to text you. So that once the texts were coming in, the calls were coming in, I'm starting to feel myself a little bit.
Of course.
So now when the coaches from North Carolina are calling me, my question is, does it snow in North Carolina? And when the answer is yes, I say, I'm from Southern California. There's no chance I'm going to go play somewhere that snows.
Yeah.
So I started getting a little ego on me.
Sure.
Well-deserved, I believe, because of the notoriety that I was getting at the time.
Fair.
But that I never really ran into too many crazy situations.
Sure.
There might have been 1 or 2. There's a bag under the table. But different conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. That's when you were able to have the head filled with helium, feeling like a little bit of bad bitch. Yeah, I get it. I get it. That's a great life to live from time to time.
Man.
No, man. So you're going through this different time, right? Like let's start with the averages. Sophomore year, how much did you average? After you come from the pump and run camp, how much are you going into your sophomore season?
I was never a big, I'm going to tell you right now, I was never a big time scorer. That
Yeah.
wasn't my notoriety. I blocked shots.
There we go.
So, but I did average, I want to say between, 12, 15 points. Like you threw it up to the rim and finish it, offensive rebounds, finishing,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then I'm going out there and I'm grabbing 12 boards. And then my senior year in high school, I actually averaged maybe 4 or 5 blocks a game.
Holy.
Yeah, I don't know if the record still stands, but at one point in Southern California, the record for the most blocks in a playoff game was Me at 19.
Holy shit!
I had
bro.
19 blocks.
19 blocks in one game.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Yo, I doubt that that's been beaten right now.
I think I'm not sure. I would have to look back, and this is just off the top of my head. I think Ed O'Bannon had 18 before me. So
Yeah.
it's not like it was never happened or never got close.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, maybe somebody out there is blocking 20 shots in a game.
And now you guys both went to UCLA. Look at that lineage right there, man. That's perfect. They knew exactly who to go for.
Right.
I like it. And with that type of notoriety, I know it had to give you a little bit of, let's say, status that we'll be able to talk about a little bit later as well. But
Yeah,
I know that gave you some great connections with the females out there.
I mean, at the time in high school, to be completely honest, wasn't my focus at all. I maybe had one girlfriend throughout high school.
Yeah.
Because I was so driven on getting a college scholarship.
For sure.
And playing at a top Division I university. So I didn't really have any focus outside of that. I hung out with my friends and did stuff like that, but I was very locked in at the time.
Wow. So tell me this. In high school, were you thinking, you know what, I'm trying to go pro, or were you thinking D1 scholarship? What was the thought process?
In high school, I'm pro.
Pro?
Yeah.
I'm going to the NBA. That's where your mindset was?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so what was your daily workouts looking like?
Man, before high school, my dad and I used to get up, I think, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I actually had a teammate, very close friend of mine named Hector Harold, who lived in a different part of the city. And he would get up and get on the bus to come meet us at 24 Hour Fitness at 7:30 in the morning before we went to school.
Yeah.
And so we would get up, meet at 24, lift, get shots up, and get a little conditioning in, and then my dad would take us both to school. And we did that every day. On top of that, my house where I lived in Altadena was on top of a cul-de-sac. And we lived at the very end of the top cul-de-sac. So running up and down that big old hill was a daily regimen for my brother and I as well.
This is every day before school?
No, not the up and down the hill, but 24-hour fitness, which consisted of either treadmill or elliptical, then weightlifting, and then going right in and getting some shots up. That was every day before school.
So walk me through a typical high school athlete's day. Like, again, mind you guys, this is a 14, 15-year-old, young boy. Walk me through your day, typically.
So honestly, and this may lead to other conversations down the line, I did not have the typical high school experience my first 3 years of high school. So the school that I attended to was Renaissance Academy. Like I said, very small school. Without going too much, they had a different way of teaching.
Okay.
So I actually didn't experience too many teachers. My first 3 years, we had something sort of like a proctor at the beginning of the room, and it was all about teaching yourself.
Wait. So you went to school that had no teachers?
Yeah. For my first 3 years of high school.
What?
We had a lady named Maggie at the beginning of at the front of the room, and if you kind of like messed up or something or kind of confused about something, you would call her out and she would refer to you to like a dictionary or thesaurus or something like that.
My God.
So, like I said, it will take us another conversation, but Renaissance Academy was a school that was ran by the Church of Scientology.
Yeah. Okay, well, without getting too deep into that, do you know some people who have gone to the Renaissance School? Do you know any other notable names that some of the audience might know?
No, not the ones at this school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Actually, like, the same name that I mentioned, my boy Hector, he's doing some big things in life. He's working. He's an unbelievable artist now. He might have a notoriable name, but he also likes to keep his things low key. So even me saying his name, you probably wouldn't even find him on Instagram.
Fair. There's too many Hectors in life. You guys don't know who he is.
Exactly.
But that's pretty awesome. So you're playing ball at this school with no teachers. You're still getting hundreds of letters. Now you make it over to your senior year where you transfer over to a different school. Right. And now everybody's kind of like figured out that, all right, this is a person that we need to know about. At that point in life, right, you're around maybe 17, 18. What are your thoughts? Do you already know where you're going to go? Have you started doing your trips? Like, what's happening at this time?
So at that time, when I'm transferring over to Windward, at the beginning of the school year is when I started doing my officials.
Okay.
Yeah, and I took 4 officials. I went to Arizona State, Creighton, and then UCLA.
And for those who don't know, just by the way, officials are the trips, okay? Officials are the trips where the school is officially bringing you out to try and recruit you to be a part of their team, all right? That's what that official is, all right? Continue.
Yeah, if you ever seen the movie what's Ray Allen and Denzel Washington? He got game.
He got game, baby.
Do you remember the official and he got game?
Absolutely.
That is the officials for college basketball players. Details here or there, but yeah.
No, they're going to do whatever is necessary.
They roll out the red carpet.
There we go. They want to make sure that you feel like a superstar. You feel like this is your home. Mm-hmm. You feel comfortable to do whatever you'd like. That's what it's all about.
Right.
Okay. All right. So out of these officials, was there any schools that stood out that you were like, you know what, I'm going here?
I actually was dead set on going to the University of Arizona from the 10th grade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I actually was able to attend Arizona's summer camp where they invite all the players that they want to come in and have a camp.
Yeah.
And at that camp, fell in love with the campus, fell in love with school, fell in love with everything about Arizona, but mostly fell in love with the coach, which was the late, great Lute Olson.
Yes, sir.
And Coach O happened to retire when I was coming in during my crew, so that kind of changed up me going to Arizona, because if Coach O wasn't going to be there, which was the highest selling point for me on Arizona at the time.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Who else was there? Like, what are some names that were over there at Arizona at the time?
At the time, when on my official visit, I had Chase Budinger was on the team.
Nice.
Jordan Hill was on the team.
Yeah.
I think Jared Bailey just got out of there.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a couple of good guys, and then that year that I came in was when Derek Williams and Solomon Hill and those guys came down to Arizona.
Yeah, so they really needed that 5 position to be filled out for it, right? It was a perfect spot.
It was almost, I would say, throughout my entire recruitment, one of the most perfect spots at the time, how it was going, was Stanford very early on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Stanford.
Yeah, so I liked when the twins, Brooke and Robin, when they were up at Stanford, watching them and how that program was being ran at the time.
Yeah.
I fell in love with it. Believe the head coach was Trent Johnson.
Okay.
And how Trent Johnson ran his offense, that's one of the first ones I fell in love with until I saw Arizona's campus. But then UCLA, with the education that it presents, it speaks for itself. And those 4 letters actually carry very heavily around the globe.
Oh, absolutely. They definitely have the notoriety of an institution of higher learning, for sure.
Of course.
What was those experiences like with the Lopez twins, though? I mean, they had to be at their prime creativity, silliness, all of that. What was that like?
Them, I didn't spend too much personal time around them. I actually only got to meet them because I took an unofficial visit up to Stanford.
Okay.
I think at the time my sister was preparing to go to the University of Pacific, and we were taking the trip up from Southern California to Northern California.
Okay.
We were stopping at schools on the way, and we got to check out Stanford. We actually got to attend a game at the time. Yeah, it was crazy down there. And then got to watch them play, and I met Brooke and Robin afterwards.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. But they were just as goofy. They were very nice, very warming.
Yeah.
And had just fun personalities about them, and I remember that about them very heavily. Yeah.
Okay. Now, throughout this entire time, right, they're recruiting you. Right, all these different schools are bringing you in. Right, is anybody talking to you about how they're going to educate you on how you're going to be able to set up your life outside of sports?
That's what UCLA did.
Okay.
And that was a huge selling point, because that UCLA education carries very heavily going into the business world or any other world outside of sports.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that UCLA education is heavy.
Yeah.
There were other universities that were pointing out how to set myself up. I would say Creighton at the time, because Creighton is in Omaha, Nebraska, and right where the campus is, they're surrounded by Fortune 500 companies right there. So they also had a big part of the recruiting was like getting into the business world, being able to be in the same place as all of these people who are making tons of money through business. So they also sold that. So there were some that actually were talking about more than just basketball.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. That's awesome. That's great to hear from. Even back then, there were some times that there were opportunities where they were bringing up these conversations, and you're trying to figure out your own way through that, right? Okay, so now we've made it through. We've gone through our, first years. You've transferred over to your senior year. Did you have a much more, let's say, explosive year that year? Did you have more of an opportunity, or was it more along the same path?
It was more along the same path because, I think senior year I got to play basketball a little more comfortable after I committed to UCLA, because there was like a weight off the shoulder about worrying about that, and I got to just play. But then also my senior year, not to say that I didn't play with great players at Renaissance. I played with one of the best players I think I've ever seen play basketball, and that's a boy named Justin Cook from Pasadena, California. He was one of the best players I've ever seen touch the basketball. But when I went to Windward, I got to play with Darius Morris and Malcolm Washington and Wesley Saunders, these players who were really good, and me joining on that team just made the perfect match, and we were able to go get that championship.
There we go. Finish it off with a state championship, right? We finished it off on a high, and we already heading over to UCLA, right? It sounds like this is where the fun really begins. Right? This is where the journey, right? This is where the journey takes off to a whole nother level. All right, so talk to me. Now that we're getting to a place where, in today's day and age, you would be becoming a professional. Once you're in college, essentially, you're a professional with NIL deals, right? But back in this time, we're talking 2009, right? What was life like coming in as a freshman into UCLA?
Oh, man. It was a lot of fun, honestly. Initially, it was a lot of fun. You get that freedom of being outside of the house, being on your own, like any college student gets. But then on top of that, like walking around campus, people know who you are.
Yeah.
Because UCLA, the fans at UCLA, the students at UCLA are the longtime fans at UCLA. Our alumni are people who have been cheering for the Bruins for years and years and years and years. And the guys that were in their student section at the time that I was playing will be Bruins fans forever.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So being on campus, they know who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they know who the team is. So you get a little bit more attention. I soaked that in a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how that must have felt going through that, let's say, process where everybody knows who you are. However, you're still having a red shirt the first year, right? So talk to me about that, like how that must have felt where you're not able to show your talents, but everybody knows that you got something there.
Yeah, it was tough because beyond having all the notoriety or whatever, it goes from being a starter on your high school, senior year high school team, getting all the minutes, playing pretty much the whole game, to the very next season not playing at all.
Wow.
And not seeing the floor for a second.
Yeah.
Which was a crazy, mind-blowing thing for me. And when looking back, handling it, probably didn't do all that well, but also 19, 18 years old, don't know really how to handle those kind of changes in the mind and everything like that. But it was an interesting year. I still took advantage of the popularity on the campus and kind of spun that in my own way by going out and joining a fraternity, which no one on the basketball team had done for years, and building other connections outside of basketball because I kind of had the freedom to do that because I didn't have to worry about playing games.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
So there's some positives and negatives that came from it.
No, yeah, I can definitely see that. It gave you a lot more free time to be able to do, really anything that you wanted to develop your character, right? But for the audience, and they don't know, red shirt means you had to sit out a year, right? But you still didn't lose your eligibility. What was the reason that you had to redshirt?
It's just coach's decision. I can't give you a reason because it came down to his bottom decision. He might have thought the players at my position were more ready, more serious. I can't say that I was the most serious. I like to have fun on top of doing everything else. But it was his decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, okay, yeah. I've been in that situation, right? I had a very similar thing play out in the same way, but what's the beauty is that, like you said, it creates a journey. It creates a path. Now, I know during that time, you probably didn't see it as that. You're like, man, this guy's holding me back from what I really want to be. And, looking back, obviously, hindsight's 20/20. But what were some of the thoughts that you had when you're going through this year where you coming off of having a state championship, you're coming off of being the starting center, and now you're being told, forget coming off the bench, you're not going to play. Right? So what's your thought process going through that time?
Honestly, that was my first experience with depression. I honestly, previous to that, didn't think depression was really a real thing. And not to be offensive or anything, but it was a white people thing. It was like if you feel bad, you move on. You put it in your back pocket, you keep moving forward. And that was the first time where I didn't know how I was feeling from the day. When waking up in the morning, I didn't know. Waking up didn't feel good. And it was the first time going through that experience and dealing with those type of things that allowed me to even go into mental health therapy and go and seek somebody and talk to people and stuff like that. But it was my first experience with depression completely. And it was a whole new thing for me. Luckily, I love to listen to music. And at that time, Kid Cudi had put out an album called Man of the Moon. And it was the first black man I ever heard speak about depression. So timing lined up, and that was like a release for me that kind of helped me.
No, I love that, man. It's a crazy thing that you had to go through that situation, quite honestly. But for men, You know, it's what's needed. We have to go through adversity in order to become who we truly are, right? And for those that are actually going to be jockeys, a part of the locker room, we do have somebody that is a certified mental therapist that's going to be able to be there for you guys as athletes. So once you join in, you can be able to have a free consultation with them. So again, you don't want to miss out because, like they said, yesterday's price ain't today's price. You don't want to miss out. And the jockeys are going to be loving it, okay? We're going to be able to shout you guys out at the end of these shows coming up. Who knows? Maybe in the future, we'll have some of the jockeys coming on in and being a part of this podcast setup with us, all right? So that. With this journey that you went through, right? You went through the freshman year. You had a tough time. Now you're about to come into the sophomore year. Did they give you a heads up on you're coming off of what they're expecting for you after this redshirt year, or was it more so like you got to prove yourself?
It was prove myself. Yeah. And that summer, I actually went away for school for the summer. Instead of taking summer classes, I went out. I came to Vegas. And during that summer, I was working out here at a gym called Impact, where I was just literally waking up in the morning, weights, workouts, and then 5-on-5 with NBA players.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Holy. Who were some of the players?
At the time, it was J.J. Hickson.
Yeah.
It was the end of Tyronn Lue's career, beginning of his coaching career, so he was in there. He wasn't playing, but he was around.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a ton of JaVale McGee popped in from time to time. I can't think of too many guys off the top of my head right off the bat, but it was a handful of guys that were down there.
100%.
Yeah, there was also a handful of college guys just like myself that were there for a little bit of time working out in between their college seasons, like Jordan DeMercy.
Yeah,
and Jonah Bays. Like, these are guys I actually became friends with.
Yeah.
Because we were working out every single day at Impact. It was a grind, and it was crazy because you would leave that gym and have to walk out into this Vegas hot sun. But it got me better that summer.
I can imagine. Yeah. I can imagine working out in that entire, let's say, environment would change in everything about you. Not only the heat, but the people that you're around. You're getting to see what pros are doing.
Getting to see what pros are doing, Getting to see how pros play, how they take the game seriously, how they're taking care of their bodies, what they're eating, everything like that. It was very, very, great for me to be able to see that.
Yeah, I can imagine, bro. It's like literally sounding like you're walking into a new lifestyle that you didn't even know existed. Is that fair to say?
Well, I knew it existed just because being at UCLA, the alumni come around a lot of the time. And then also we got very lucky. Now that I'm thinking about it, it might have been after my sophomore year that I went down to Vegas, because I think it was after my freshman year is when the lockout happened. When the lockout happened in the NBA, that was around the 2010, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, during that summer was very special for me and anyone else who was going to UCLA, because during the lockout, all the NBA players were coming down to UCLA to pay pickup.
Oh, wow.
Literally everybody. Like, I remember being in the gym with Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett, and Kenyon Martin was in there some days, or J.R. Smith was in there some days, and Drew Holiday was in there some days. Ryan, everybody was popping up at UCLA that summer to play some pickup. Wow. And there was some great runs down there. So we also got the chance to rub shoulders with all these guys.
Yeah.
We were playing in the league and talking to them about daily stuff that they go through, how much they're working out, how much they were pissed about the CBA at the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why are they at UCLA? Why are so many people feel so comfortable coming into UCLA?
Well, I don't know when it started exactly, but UCLA has always been a summertime spot. Like that Mecca over there. Like, we play in the men's gym, which is John Wooden's original gym, the old gym, not Pauley Pavilion, the old men's gym. Everyone come in there in summer. You got 3 courts going. As long as I've known, it's been UCLA pickup runs in the summertime.
Yeah. It's just tradition. This is where the best of the best have been.
Yeah, there's a guy named Rico Hines who runs those runs now.
Yeah.
And Rico's probably been running it for way longer than I'd known.
Sure.
But those runs have been there for a long, long time.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I'm glad there's some still, some staples, some traditions that we still have that we can really get a part of the culture, be a part of something that's bigger than all of us, right? Like, speaking of that, like some things that are gone on for so long, are there some people that you feel like you've been a part of their lives and you've known for this entire journey that you've been going, all throughout AAU, maybe all throughout high school and college? Are there some people that you're still, kind of connected with that have helped you be able to go through this process this entire time?
Any other players?
Yeah.
Well, I've got lucky. I always say lucky. I got lucky to grow up in Southern California at the time that I did. there's a ton of great players that came out at that time.
Okay.
James Harden came out of Southern California. Klay Thompson, friend of mine, came out of. Paul George came out of Southern California. Kawhi Leonard, the name Russell Westbrook. These names just go on and on.
Yeah.
And it's all around the same time. So I got to play against this competition growing up.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of great players who didn't even make the NBA that I got to play with and against and stuff. And that Southern California build, I'm biased, obviously, because I'm from there. But during that time, I don't think anyone has better bump than California and the dudes down there in Cali.
No, I hear you, man. You might DC might have a little, something to say. New York might have a little something to say. I know Alabama ain't got shit to say. But you guys are really doing great. I didn't even
mention the DeMars and all these other players. Oh, man, Cali.
Oh, man, yeah. So that must have been a crazy time, being able to develop and hone your skills, coming up through, top-tier talent. These are guys that are literally all-stars, perennial all-stars, NBA champions, people who are really, controlling the league right now.
Right.
And this is what you're sharpening your iron against.
Exactly.
Man.
It was one hell of a time down there. And we have players like one of my favorite players that I ever watched in high school that I got to compete against and just be in awe, honestly, Renardo Sidney, one of the greatest basketball players, one of the greatest high school basketball players, in my opinion. He never made it long term. That was, I don't know, that's Sid's personal business, but one of the best. And he actually played high school basketball in Southern California at that time, too.
Wow.
Yeah, he was in our teacher with James Harden.
Oh, man, that's crazy. That had to be a insane squad.
Yeah, he's from down your side. He's from Mississippi.
Okay. Yeah. Welcome, represent for the South. You got Booker, who was over here with us, and he played some good AAU ball as well. But talking to me about this, when you guys are playing AAU, you're getting into the college ranks. I know you have colleges that are looking into you guys. Were there ever any times that there were possibly some scouts that you knew would be a part of professional ranks and they'd be there kind of watching, getting a heads-up view?
I don't think that I knew ever. I'm sure they were there.
Yeah.
Especially with the talent that were on these teams and the talent that were in these games. I knew they definitely had to be in the house, but at the time, very unaware.
Yeah.
Like, I know what Jerry West looks like,
Sure.
but I don't know where many or Bob Meyer. I know what Bob Meyer looks like, but I don't know too many of these other executives and people, especially at the time, that changed so many times.
100%.
Yeah, but they're definitely out there.
No, that makes sense.
And I know that I was probably sitting next to another NBA scout at a Houston tournament watching Drew Holiday. So they're in the gym, but I was never aware of it.
No, that makes sense. And to speak to me about the importance of being aware, not the sense that you must know who they are, but could you see that there could have been an impact that could have been had if you didn't know that these professional scouts and these professional executives are in the gym and your behavior outside of the game maybe is not up to a professional level? Can you explain to me a little bit of the impact that can happen?
Well, I'll say, okay, so I didn't know what they looked like.
Yeah.
But you always knew they were there.
Sure.
Yeah, because if you're playing at these top tournaments, like these guys are watching these top high school basketball players. So you're, I had a great AAU coach. I also had a great dad to help guide me and tell me how to conduct myself off the court, on the court, how too much emotion shown can throw something off. So I had great guidance into those, but you knew they were there. But because you knew they were there, you also had to hold yourself to a certain stature if you wanted to impress these guys, because they're not just looking at you while you're on the floor. They're watching you while you're sitting on the bench. They're watching you while you're walking through the gym. NBA studies their players. Oh,
absolutely. And for those of you guys don't know, if you ever want to be in the league, let me tell you, being an actual athlete and the talent on the court, that's maybe 40%. That's maybe 40%. It's a business. It's a business. It's whatever you're going to be able to create so that they can be able to work with you and make more money together. Now, if you don't have the demeanor, if you don't have the behavior, if you don't have the professionalism to actually be able to succeed outside of the game, you're not going to make it. All right? You can enjoy NIL, but you're not going to make it because it's very few and far between that have deplorable behavior, and the league or any team will be able to stand it.
Right. It's very, very, very rare that it will ever get like that, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, 100%, man. Quite honestly, I think that's how it's supposed to be. I think sports is one of the last meritocracies that we have here in all of our community, right? Where it doesn't matter necessarily who you know or what people say about you. It's all about what you can actually produce. right? For most times, right? You
Yeah.
know, I got no disrespect for Bronny. You know, he's still a hell of a player. I dare any of you guys to go challenge him one-on-one and get your ass busted. You know, but granted, maybe there's some nepotism involved in that. You know, cool. His dad may be one of the top 2 greatest players to ever live. Understandable. But for most others, I think it takes what you got to put in.
Well, I would say like Bronny's like just the easiest example, but there's a ton of players in the NBA that have that lineage or that opportunity because of who they are related to or who they know. It is a big who they know system as well, especially when you're coming out of college, if you don't have the right agent, it could change everything for you. And having an important agent or having a good agent is important because it's about who your agent knows, what doors that he can get you into, what workouts he can get you, what teams he can get you in front of. That's a very, very big part of the game. So
100%.
who you know and who the people around you know is very important in the NBA as well.
No, absolutely.
And that doesn't take away from any of the games of the people who are in the NBA. Because just like you said about Bronny, go challenge an NBA player that's on an NBA roster. Go challenge a one-on-one and see what happens.
Yep.
Nobody in the NBA is a slouch.
Not at all. No. Not at all. And all 450 of them,
Yeah.
they're all very amazing at what they do. And I agree. And I want to take it a little further on what you were saying. It also matters who you know. Your network is your net worth. There's more than thousands of these athletes that are all across the world that are very high level. However, most of them don't know the right people so they can be in the position to be seen. Right, so you're absolutely right. Your network does equal your network. Network equals your net worth. And speaking of that, right, you're now coming into your sophomore year at UCLA. We're still in the timeline here.
Oh, yeah.
You're starting to develop this vast network, right? You got all these people that you knew from high school. You're feeling like you're chomping at the bits, ready to get off the bench. You're coming into your sophomore year. You just finished the lockout time. What's going on now? What's happening? Are you able to really show what you have, or is there some type of shackles on you?
There's a little bit. And I could be honest and say that I wasn't the greatest off-the-court student. Like, I didn't take my studies very seriously all the time. I like to have a good time, like I said before. And my coach didn't like that very much. So between him and I, we just didn't see eye to eye all the time. So my sophomore year, I did get some more minutes and stuff like that, and I actually started starting games. But part of that was because we had other players who were injured or weren't quite ready, like shape-wise, to be able to be in a starting position.
Yeah.
But I would start maybe 4 minutes out of the game, get subbed out, and then see the first 4 minutes of the second half.
Wow.
So I don't like to put blame anywhere else to anyone, but I also don't feel like I got the most time or most opportunity at UCLA.
Yeah, sure. You know, there was maybe some different opportunities that you wish you were able to get.
Yeah.
You know, take
I
advantage
could
of.
also handle a lot of things better.
Sure.
And my coach or any coach that you have is the leader of your team at the end of the day. So if he has a certain law enacted, follow that law while you're there, so you can make sure you don't have any excuses to keep you off the court.
No, 100%. So keep it real with me. Do you think that there were some laws that you broke that really kept you off the court outside of the talent?
Yeah.
And do you think that had a bigger impact than the talent you could have provided to the team?
No. I think that I went off my ways.
Yeah.
And that pissed him off. But my minutes that I did give, I played a lot of very important minutes at UCLA. And I did block some shots in those times, got some good rebounders. Like I said, I've never been a big-time scorer. But I did play an important role in the times that I was not on the floor. I could have handled some things better, but it was also ultimately his decision whether to play me or not play me.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. No, I understand where you're going with that. You take accountability knowing that maybe you could have had instead of 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes, but you were able to do what you did with those times, right? And you grew that.
Exactly.
Took it into your junior and your senior year where your time grew even further, correct?
Yeah, I didn't actually make it into my senior year at UCLA.
Okay.
Yeah, so I redshirted my freshman year, played my sophomore and junior years, which would be my redshirt freshman and sophomore years. And then we just finally got to a standpoint where we no longer saw eye to eye altogether. It just so happened that at the beginning of my redshirt sophomore year, I actually tore the labrum in my shoulder. And it may have been the second practice of the season.
Wow.
And I was given a choice whether to play the season on a torn labrum or get surgery right then and miss the whole season. And I was encouraged to play on a torn labrum.
Wow.
So I actually played my entire redshirt sophomore year on a torn labrum.
Yeah.
And then had the surgery after the season. And then after the surgery is when things completely fizzled out. So I never actually rehabbed completely from my shoulder surgery before parting ways with UCLA.
Wow. So that definitely puts you on, let's call it, shaking grounds before you're even stepping out into your professional career, right? So that had to give you like a lot of adversity that you had to fight through to be able to do that, man. Can you give us a little insight into what went down for you to go from coming to UCLA to being a pro?
I mean, I like to take a lot of personal responsibility, but I was kind of challenged in a way. I was told that I should transfer into another university and go further my education and get a degree and move right into some other field outside of basketball because I wasn't good enough to be a professional, which put a chip on my shoulder.
Yeah.
And while people were encouraging me to go maybe a year JC and then transfer into a major D1 university or make it a transfer into D2, I was stuck on my brain, oh, wait, I was just told I'm never going to be a professional basketball player. Forget school. I'm going to show you right now I'm going to be a professional basketball player, which let me go on from workouts to paying $150 to go into a Defenders workout in Los Angeles. And Defenders was the NBA D League team before the G League. Yeah, it was an NBA D League team for the Lakers. Paid $150 for the tryout, and everything happened from there.
Man. So that's talking about right there. Quite honestly, what you have to go through in order to be success, right? Some of the things you guys will hear on this show more and more is the UPS, the Universal Principles of Success. And it sounds like you're really just going into one right there. Having some discipline, right? Having some commitment, should we say. Having some resilience. Having something that you are going to fight for no matter what, right? You're going to really push in to making it happen. And it sounds like coming out of UCLA, you were dealing with a tough time where they weren't giving you any shots. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to make it happen regardless. I'm going to make something come from nothing, right? And it took you into this Defenders opportunity, right, where you're now playing in the NBA D League, now known as the G League, naming rights bought by Gatorade, but you were playing in the D League, really brought in from a tryout that you paid for from yourself. Well, what were you doing before you tried out for the Defenders to be able to afford that? Right?
Working out every day.
Holy.
Well, I wasn't even working. I was lucky to have parents to support me.
Yeah.
Helped me pay that $150 to get in.
And there it is.
Yeah, but they supported me 100% when I said I'm going to take this pro route. Went down into Scottsdale, Arizona for a couple of weeks to work out with a trainer down there. Worked out at Proactive in LA. Just was all over the place just doing workouts until I got the opportunity to go try out for the team.
I love it. I love it. Not letting anything stop the dream. So, boom, now you're on the Defenders, right? Now you're playing in LA, working your way up, trying to become a Laker. Talk to me about this D-League/G League experience. What was that like, man? How did that go?
It was interesting. So after the tryout, which led into training camp, I think we had 18 to 20 people in the training camp, which to be cut down to 13. So even paying that $150 and making the only roster spot from the tryout, or one of two or three, I still had to make the team. So then eventually making the final roster and being the only rookie on the roster, being the 13th guy on the team. I think it was like maybe first 10 games of the season, 6 to 10 games of the season, I maybe played 1 or 2 minutes here or there. Similar UCLA experience, but this is a professional level. So I knew the guys ahead of me had more experience. They've been there, and they know what it was like, and I'm just the rookie coming in. So it just so happened, someone got hurt. Someone on my team, the guy ahead of me, got hurt, which opened up a spot for me to play some minutes. Took advantage of those minutes and became, I wouldn't say big-time player on the team, but I started getting consistent minutes and started multiple games. Yeah. At the time, Robert Sacre was playing for the Lakers at center. I started at 4 right next to Robert Sacre on the Defenders when he came down and played with us. Yeah. So, just slowly started building my minutes up and helping the team more and more the best I can. Our head coach was Reggie Theus at the time. Reggie Theus actually went to high school with my dad. Oh, wow. Full circle moment. Right. Holy. Yeah. What is some of your things that you're doing while you're on the bench, right? You were saying 5 to 6 games. You're not even playing, right? But this is like
pretty much a dream that you're getting towards, right? You're getting towards that level that you've always wanted to be at, but you're having to go 48 minutes a game, barely not even taking off your warm-up, bro. Like, talk to me. What are you doing there? Are you clapping? Are you mad?
Man,
are you happy?
I was the best cheerleader because I was excited.
Yeah.
I was always excited to be there. Yeah, I wanted to play. Yeah, I wanted to get some minutes, but I was excited to be there. So I was clapping for all my teammates, high-fiving everybody, cheering them on the best I can, excited for whenever the times my name did get called. I was just excited to be there most of the time.
Oh, I love that. I can personally say, from the outside looking in, not being able to watch it personally, but I know that helped. I know that from the coaches, the owners, they looked at that and saw this is somebody that we can trust in those opportunities to be able to take advantage of it. So I love that. I love that. Now, did you finish the entire season with the Defenders? How did that go? Like, what's happened here?
Unfortunately, I didn't. So there were some talks leading in late into the season about me potentially coming in, playing the summer league with the Lakers and trying to continue to find a roster spot maybe down the line.
Mm-hmm.
But then we went on a road trip. As things happen in basketball, someone fell on my foot, broke my foot, and changed my whole career from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What happened? Who fell on your foot? Where were you playing?
So we were playing
down?
In Santa Cruz.
Okay.
Santa Cruz holds the team for the Warriors.
Yeah.
So they're Santa Cruz Warriors. Game against Santa Cruz Warriors. I'm trying to remember the dude's name off the top of my head. His name was Darrington Hobson. He was just coming down the line. I think a couple plays before that, I had jumped up and someone came out and I blocked a shot right in front of the middle of the rim. Same play pretty much happened, but now I know since I just blocked the shot, he's preparing for me to jump it. So he's coming towards the basket with the extra speed. So instead of going up and trying to block it, I just got outside of the dotted line and took a charge, which got the charge, but he hit me and then landed his full weight on my foot.
Oh.
Which I initially thought it was an ankle injury when I hopped out the game. I thought it was an ankle injury. So and I'm sure you've done this before.
Sure.
You twist your ankle, you tighten the shoes back up,
yep.
Get right back in the game.
Yeah.
So I got back in and finished the game. And then it wasn't until after the game I realized I couldn't walk.
Wow. Yeah. The adrenaline's pumping so much you don't even realize it. Holy, man. So from there, now you're like, you got a foot injury. You're trying to figure out what's going to be next. And what happens? Do you have the LA team that's looking in to, helping you out with a situation? Or are you just throwing you off?
No, they definitely helped me out.
Okay.
But it was kind of a different situation. Like I said, it happened on a road trip. And it was the beginning of the road trip. So we were to go from Santa Cruz up to Reno, back down to Bakersfield, and then come back home to LA. And so we're still on a road trip. Yeah, a lot of traveling.
Holy.
We're still on a road trip, and this is the first game. So our bus after the game is going from Santa Cruz to Reno. So they're like, we're going to get on this bus, we're going to go to Reno, and then you'll get your x-rays up there, and we'll see what's going on. So I got an x-ray up in Reno, and the x-ray really didn't show much, so everyone believed it was a sprain. So it was given, I think it was like a 6 to 8 week healing period where I was in the training room every day. And at this time, Kobe was going through injuries. So the training room was shared between the Lakers and the Defenders.
Nice.
Because it was all down at the Toyota Center in El Segundo. So I got to actually see him a lot. Got to watch him get his hair cut a couple times. Yeah. But they still held on to me and helped me through that rehabilitation process.
Okay, that's cool.
But this is all us not knowing that it was worse than what we initially saw in the X-ray.
Sure.
So after that little healing period, I came back out. I was preparing to play a game. And a tradition of mine since I've been a young kid was to always jump rope before games. Always jump rope before games. I don't even know what age I started. I was doing it for so long. But I went out that game to go jump rope, and I could not get my left foot off the ground.
Oh, wow.
So I realized, there's still a problem. Then we got the MRI. Found out there was breaks in my foot, in different parts of my foot.
Yeah.
Then now instead of 6-week process, it's a 3.5 month healing process, which the Lakers still helped me on for a little bit of time, and the Defenders, and put me with some rehab people that actually helped me out. But after so long, honestly, it's like the game, like NBA, the whole thing, it's dog-eat-dog world.
Absolutely.
You go down, there's 4 more dudes. I know many people don't see a 6'11" person in person, I'm going to tell you right now, there are thousands of dudes out there that are my height. So as soon as I go down, they have someone else ready to go right back up.
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah, it's a business. They're definitely keeping it rolling. They're definitely keeping things moving forward. And you got introduced to it early, right? Year one, right? So coming into that, and you're starting to see a little bit of how things are developing. You're starting to now have to adjust to your new body, right, with this new foot injury. I'm sure you're still living life outside of the game, right? But are they talking to you? Now we're in the NBA side, right? So coming into college, we asked about it a little bit. Were they giving you a little bit of insight? And there were some schools that talked about it a little bit, right? So in college, was there any direction on what to do with finances and ways that you can direct your life so that you actually have some survival? Was there any conversation about that?
In college or in the
Let's start with in college first. I know coming into college, they talked about it. Now, when you're actually in college, did they really, let's say, deliver on those goods?
There's a lot of broken promises.
Sure.
I mean, there's some guys that helped you out. Like our academic advisor, Kenny Donaldson at UCLA, one of the best people I ever met in my life. And he was really, really set on making sure every player got their degree one way or another, and making sure every player was successful in school and helping to give them all the tools to help out. So they did have those resources there. But outside of college, I didn't get too much knowledge of, like, here's what you may be able to do or which direction you may be able to go. But fair enough, at that time, the focus is being in school.
Yeah.
And playing for the team as well as trying to get an education.
Yeah. They're trying to get the most out of the situation that they could, right? So they're not trying to help you leave the situation. So I can totally understand that.
Yeah. It's schools lose money from one and done.
Of course they do. They're not able to make as much merchandise. They're not able to keep these players and grow the platform. You're absolutely right. Now, that gives an answer for the college. Now, let's talk about the NBA or the D League, G League, what it was at that time. What about them? Were they giving information?
At that time, you were pro. You're pro. I mean, it was probably a very different experience for NBA rookies because they probably have way more education. But at the D League, at the same time, it was the D League. Maybe in the G League, they give more education now because there's more money behind it. But, for example, my contract in the G League, I made $13,000 before taxes for an entire season.
Wow.
G League players are now making around $7,000 a month.
Sure.
So, but there's much more into it. So I'm sure they have other resources and people helping them out with financial literacy way more than we had available for us back in the D League.
No, that makes total sense. That makes total sense. And man, so much has grown in that time frame, right? It's not even been that long. We're talking 10, 15 years, and we're in a whole different world when it comes to the sport. So I understand that. Now, when you're coming from this injury, now you're, having to figure out your life, right? What happens next? I know we've already given them the teaser. You played damn near 10 years professionally. So what happens next? How did you go from these broken bones in your foot, not really knowing what to do for yourself financially, not necessarily having the right direction, to then carving a career out for yourself?
I mean, as the injury happened, just rehabbing from it, getting back from it healthy, it was just going right back to where I was the year before that. Let me go find a tryout. Let me go find somewhere to work out. Let me go find somewhere to play basketball. And it was a little bit easier that year because I had just played in the D League. So coaches in the D League and around the league know who I am now. So I actually got a shot with I think it was the Bakersfield Jam team out of Bakersfield, California. I went into training camp with them and got pretty far into training camp with them. And a big part of the business when it came at that time, the Bakersfield Jam had multiple affiliates. So I think it was like the Clippers and the Suns and maybe a third team. With that, there's levels when those teams, when there's multiple affiliates, they bring their own players down. So this Phoenix Suns, let's say, I went through training camp about to make the team. There's a guy playing overseas that the Phoenix Suns have under contract. He's coming back now. This is their D League team. They're placing him on it. They place him on my team. The roster spot has to be made for them.
100%.
That type of thing happened. So unfortunately, I had a good relation with the coach and all the coaches at the time, but the business happens. So from there, I actually played I think it was when I went to Rochester right after that. It was a smaller league, the PBL at the time, and got some time in at the PBL, playing for my coach Robert Spawn out there, and then actually I'm skipping. It's been so long.
Yeah.
But after the D League, I actually got the opportunity to go to Japan.
Really, straight out of the D League?
No, so out of the D, I went to that Bakersfield Jam workout. Things didn't work out. I had an agent at the time that was connected to a Japanese agent, the Tokyo team, this purple jersey right here.
Yeah.
They had just were letting go of their big man, so there was a vacant spot.
Yeah.
Sent us out and sent me out there to Japan and did well out there.
And the rest is history. How long did you play in Japan? How many years?
I was just one season out in Japan.
Yeah.
I was living in Tokyo.
Wow, that's crazy.
For 9 months. It was one of my favorite trips I've ever made.
I can imagine, bro. There's some questions.
It was very interesting because it was my first long-term trip outside of the States, outside away from home. Homesickness played a part initially, but then once I kind of got over that, living in Japan was unbelievable.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. Most of the people, if you guys haven't already recognized, from that injury, the NBA has their ways of doing about things. He still carved out a career for himself, but you played most of that time having to travel the world, getting to see and experience so many great things. What are some of the top places that you played in?
Tokyo, Japan is one of my favorite places.
Yeah.
By far. Yeah, between like the food, the cleanliness of the country, and then how much they are actually basketball fans.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Wow. I knew the Philippines had great, huge fans. And I didn't know Tokyo had just as many.
The whole country of Japan.
Wow.
Yeah. One thing about Japan, if I ever went back at the time, I'm not playing anymore, but if I ever went back, I always wanted to play for a club called Akita out there, because Akita, their games are sold out every single game the entire season. Thousands and thousands of fans, diehard fans, because Akita's a small city in Japan, and that's what they have.
Wow.
And everyone goes to these games. They're called the Happy Nets, and they wear pink, and it's pink throughout the city damn near.
Yeah.
Because everyone goes to the game. I always wanted to play for Akita, because when we went up there and played against Akita, the atmosphere was so incredible.
Oh, my God. It sounds like it. It sounds like you're creating a soccer-type atmosphere.
Pretty much.
Right there at the basketball arena.
Pretty much.
Oh, that's got to be epic. Oh,
yeah.
Man. I know. I can see why you would want to play with them. Now, throughout this professional career, I know you had a great time. You ran into a lot of things that would be able to enhance your interpersonal dynamics, right? The ways that you're able to interact with other people, especially people of the opposite gender. Right, those are the things that we're going to get into a little bit next, right? What are some of the differences you saw when you were living in this time, damn near a decade, overseas versus when you were living here in America, when it comes to interpersonal dynamics?
A lot beyond just women, just dynamics between other people in other countries. Surprisingly enough, I could count out of all the different countries that I've been to, I can probably count on my hands, maybe one hand, the direct racial experiences that I went through. While on the other hand, I'm at home. It's a lot different.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't run into too many situations.
Sure.
Yeah. And which was surprising to me. And not to say that I wasn't being talked about behind my back or people weren't racist at all. It's just an experience that I had out there.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. And then also, I think basketball has to do a lot with it, because it's not like I'm just going out there to live in these countries. I'm going out there to live in these countries as a basketball player.
No, absolutely.
So I had a lot of positive experiences with people, a lot of great conversations with people from all over the world.
Yeah.
I've done Tai Chi with a dude in Japan.
Holy.
Yeah, I got to walk the Great Wall of China and talk to people while doing that.
Yeah.
So those experiences were different. But in comparison to being home, I think mostly, one, the racial aspect, which was surprising to me, but like I said, I think I had a lot of basketball to do with it. And then women, this is basketball and women.
Sure.
I don't want to make myself sound too crazy, but yeah.
No, you know what? I'll drink to that. No, but you're absolutely right, bro. You're absolutely right. They go hand in hand.
That's what the late night show is.
Absolutely. And, there'll be some things that we'll be able to discuss even more in that, but with that, with these intersectional dynamics, right, these different genders that you're dealing with, what are some of the biggest differences that you've seen between dealing with, Western women and dealing with women that are overseas, international? What are some of the biggest differences?
I think that the financial thing is what you make and who you are is way more important here than not even who you are. It's like what do you bring is way more important than who you are and the person that you are. And my experience is that the financial gain for I'm not a rich person, but like the sought after financial gain from like a woman's perspective, to me at least, is the bigger goal. Meeting during my professional experience or my professional time, meeting some women in America rather than getting to a lot of women trying to get to know me as a person in my experiences in other countries.
I get it. I get it. And I'll say it even more plain. Western women are gold diggers. As my good guy Myron would say, all women are gold diggers. Some are just better at hiding the shovel. What he's describing is modern Western women. And it sounds like you're agreeing with that sentiment, that it's hard to find a woman in the Western hemisphere of the world where they're looking out to find out who you are as a person and to get to know you more as that person, but they're more so intrigued by what you can provide for them. Fair?
Fair.
Okay.
Yeah, and personal experience.
Sure. We're doing anecdotal experience here. We're going to get more into stats based if you join us for the After Hours show. Check us out tomorrow. But for these personal experience that we're talking about here, when you were dealing with, more women in the eastern side of the world, you were having a lot easier time, should we say, with them being more acceptant of who you are as a person?
Yeah. I would say my favorite of all the countries I've been to, I mean, obviously I'm diehard Japan fan.
Of course, they love you a long time.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But my Japanese, the girl that I was dating out in Japan, I got lucky. First off,
okay, talk to me.
I think it was maybe my second week in Japan. I decided to go out with my friends, and we go to a club. And I'll never forget it. The stairs went down to get inside this club, and we go down, and we come across this corner, and these beautiful Japanese women, like 3 or 4 beautiful Japanese women sitting at this table over there. And one in particular, her and I like caught eye to eye.
Okay.
So I, feeling myself, walked over.
Yeah.
And was like,
do a little wrist on her?
Tried. Didn't have to do much because before I could say too much, she was like, yo, stop. I speak English. You don't have to talk to me like that.
This is perfect. The first girl you talk to speaks English. Can't beat that.
Not just spoke English, but lived in America for a whole 2 years, like growing up. Like,
oh, my God.
Oh, man. But so ended up hanging out with her. Things further along, and it was more exclusive. I didn't have time. I was playing, and I'm not like a huge in the streets kind of person. And if I find someone that like occupies my time and makes it enjoyable, and also I do the same for them,
sure,
I'm kind of like settle.
No, I get you.
Way. So, and then with her, the levels was just something different.
Man,
yeah, like going over to her house after practice. Taking off my my workout stuff and stuff, leaving it at the door, and food being made for me, and everything being prepared, and everything about me coming in relaxed after having a hard day.
Wow. Just to ask a question here, would you say that she provided peace?
Yeah.
Is that the one thing that you would say is the most important that she provided?
Yeah.
Peace.
For sure.
And it would show itself in a lot of different ways.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Wow, this is amazing. I hope you guys are taking notes out there. So with this, right, why didn't you bring her back, bro? Why didn't you bring her back?
I mean, life's and then at the same time, I will say, it was very comfortable for me to do that while I was in Japan. But then I got to come back home. And then she's in Japan.
Fair.
And I'm not going to pretend to stay committed while you're in one country and I'm in another. So I'd much rather be like, hey, we got our time. Let's move from here.
No, I get that. We're still men. We still have needs. I totally understand that. And when it comes to the different, let's say, things that you're looking for with this woman, what made her stand out to you, right? Like, could you give me like 3 qualities that you're looking for in a woman here that made her stand out above the rest?
I don't know. I can't say that. Because I've experienced a lot of different women.
Sure.
That had qualities.
I hear you,
just
player.
The way that,
I get you.
But honestly, it's just our connection between one another was what stood out. I mean, shit, being able to find a girl that spoke English in Japan.
that's a big plus.
That's a huge plus.
Yeah, I get that.
But outside of that, she was always a great listener. Mm-hmm. And then also, she can cook. Girl, this girl was supposed to be, I swear, she was supposed to be a 5-star chef.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The first time I ever had eggplant lasagna in my life was at this girl's house.
Holy.
She made me eggplant lasagna and changed my life.
In Japan?
In Japan.
Wow. You blew. That's the first thing. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. That's the one thing that surprised me in this whole conversation. You had lasagna, eggplant lasagna the first time in Japan. This is a black person here, ladies and gentlemen. And what the hell? How did this happen? And you're saying it was great. It's like a Michelin star, restaurant here that you're tasting.
Yeah, every single day that I came in the house. So how it was, first off, I want to say weed is very illegal in Japan.
Okay.
But I did what I did. So anyways. Sure. I would come back
Allegedly.
from practice.
Allegedly.
I don't know. Statute of limitations, how does that work in Japan? I would come home from practice and get on the train, and instead of going back to my apartment, right over to her apartment. She used to keep her key in her mailbox, and I would be able to grab the key out of there to open up the apartment. And when I came into the apartment, because she was in America for a couple years, she had her favorite American shows. She jailbroke a laptop, plugged it into her TV so I could watch any American show just like I was back at home.
Oh, wow.
So that would be on with the remote sitting next to it, and then right next to the remote would be 3 spliffs rolled.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
This is all unprompted. Did you have to tell her to do these things, or this is just her knowing?
She knows.
This is who likes
every single time I came over there, I'm rolling joints.
Yeah. So she
every
picked
single
up.
time I come over there, I'm typing my shows into
Okay.
So she picked up on it, and it was how the routine became.
She's paying attention. That's what you're telling me.
Very much. So.
Oh, okay. So you didn't have to ask her anything, but she's just watching the routine. I hope you females are taking notice here. She was just watching the routine of the things that you enjoyed, and then she said to herself, you know what? I think it would be better. I think he'd enjoy it if he didn't have to do those things himself. If he just came home from a hard-working day and it was already prepared for him. She did this unprompted. That's what you're telling me here.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Another random question here. Have you experienced something like that in the Western civilization?
Maybe once or twice.
Okay, maybe once or twice unprompted, where they've been able to take note.
So it's unprompted. It's like
that's a big word. Yeah.
So unprompted. So it's maybe like, oh, you like to smoke? Wait, here's a blunt, nigga. No, I'm just joking.
No, but you're not, though. Because I've been in those situations where it's just like, oh, you like to smoke? Well, I'll roll up for you. Cool. But you know I like to smoke, right? You know who I am, but I understand.
This girl in Japan didn't know how to roll. But watch me roll. Watch me roll, because I'll tell you right now, her first couple times with the pre-roll joints are sitting there, some shitty joints. I just had to break them down and re-roll. But within a couple months, I'm having these fine-tuned splits.
Wow. I think you're about to make me get a flight over to Japan, bro. Oh, my God.
I heard from some sources that some things might like this happen down in Mexico, maybe.
You never know, right? You never know, right? But for those that are in Japan, MLD, I'm talking about you. And my guy, Big G, right here, one of our EPs, he's been telling us, our women down in the Mexican city, they act very similar. And quite honestly, I'll take his word for it. Maybe we'll find out soon enough. But that actually transitions me. We've talked a lot about it. And for those that really want to get deeper into his life story, they possibly want to have more conversations about what he's doing, maybe things that they can get tips-wise to be able to help them become professionals in their basketball career. Go ahead and join the locker room. All right, become a jockey. You'll be able to have direct access, not only to him, but to me as well and other athletes, where you'll be able to talk directly to us. We'll have weekly Zoom calls. We'll have monthly meetups. You'll be able to get even more in-depth information on how to really take your life to the next level, both on and off the court. But we're going to transition even further in this conversation to things that I think you guys are really here to talk about. We're going to get more deeper into these Japanese women. I'm not gonna lie to you. We're gonna get a little deeper into the dynamics of how she was able to come so far and make such an impact in this man's heart in such a short amount of time. Like, honestly, one of the things that we could put into one word, it was femininity. That's one of the things that she was able to exude. You know, whether it was following his path, whether it was finding out the things that he liked and choosing to be able to replicate them in a way that was easy for him. What are some other traits that you saw? Maybe it's not just this female. We don't want to put her on the spot, even though her name's not out there. What are some other traits that you saw that were outside of the Western culture that you were like, wow, I wish we can get more of that?
I think what I covered, pretty much. I don't know too many other details. I would have to think further on to it, but just I don't know. I don't want to say servitude because it kind of sounds weird.
No, it's not. It's not weird. Here's the word that all modern women are allergic to right now: submission.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the word he was really going for. But it's been a little difficult for that to really be happening for us in these days.
But I didn't. At no time did I feel like I was above. I just felt very much assisted and helped.
Absolutely.
Like someone was there to look out, to worry about the things that I usually may have to worry about, but didn't necessarily have to.
Sure.
Yeah.
It was like a partner.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody who helped you be better at your job.
Right.
No, I love that. And
then, but the differences with that too is like with her culture and everything like that. I really can't even tell you what she did outside of working in the tech business.
Wow.
Or the tech industry.
Yeah.
So I can tell you what she wanted to do. Like she wanted to be a chef and stuff like that. But I didn't know too much of what she did. She didn't talk too much about it. And it wasn't very much important in our conversations from time to time. And it wasn't that I wasn't asking or wasn't seeking out. It's just that she didn't care to tell. It was more like, no, that's so fine. Yeah, I went to work in this tech job today. Who cares? How was practice?
Yeah. She wasn't really cared about being a boss babe.
No, she was making money. Don't get me wrong. This girl had her own apartment in the middle of Tokyo and a sky rise.
Living nice.
She was doing well for herself. But it just wasn't important for her ever to talk about that.
I love that.
Yeah, it was more of what's going on with the next game, who you playing next, how do you feel about this game, how was practice, do you like your teammates, why don't you like this teammate, this shit like that. Like, just always there mentally with the game aspects, like giving me someone like an outlet for it. But without, it was just straight up like, here, this is what happened. It wasn't like, well, what do you, if you change this, or what if you try that? It wasn't like trying to even assist it. It was just an open ear, which was very good for me personally, at least. Because you know, sometimes you want to vent about something you don't really want to answer.
Absolutely.
Actually, women do that all the time too.
100%.
Which I can understand. There's sometimes you want to vent without actually having a solution.
Sure.
And that was what she gave me during those times.
No, I can get that. And I say sure because I understand where you're going, you know, especially from the feminine aspect of it. Sometimes you're looking to just be able to express some things. You're not looking to be able to solve it in that moment. You're just looking for an expression. And the fact that she was empathetic enough to be able to listen, right? She was able to take in what you were dealing with, be able to take in all of the concerns, you know, and the battles that you were going through on a day-to-day basis and really help you out with those. That's top tier. That's A1, man. And we want to be able to provide those type of examples as much as we can later on in these after-hour shows and these after-hours examples, you know, with the women that we think are going to be great lights for the next generation, quite honestly. Now, I think I want to be able to do this, right, where we're coming to a place where I'm going to leave a lot of room for the people who are going to join the locker room to be able to get a lot more information that your normal audience is not going to be able to get. But I want to be able to check in with what are two impactful things that you're looking for that you believe the audience needs to hear to be able to change their lifestyle. Something that's general, something that's going to be, I'll put it like this. The first one that I'll say is I brought it up earlier. The principles of success are universal, right? So I believe Kobe was trying to put it out to us with the Mamba mentality. And it's poignant that we're actually doing our first episode today on the day that his father passed away. Rest in peace, Joe Jellybean. He was a great impact. I know not only your life, but he had some good impact moments in my life as well. So I think one of the things that he was saying is the way that you do one thing is the way that you do everything. Right? I think that's a moment that, a statement that we can be able to say to anybody that they can be able to understand how that can impact what their situation is. Right? Maybe there's some points where you're being lazy. Maybe there's some points where you knew you can go harder. You maybe could have did more, but you chose not to. right? Well, let me remind you, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. All right? So cut that bullshit out and go hard with everything that you do. Right, so in that same mindset, what are maybe like 2 things that come to your mind that you'd like to share?
I can't give you 2, but I'm going to set up for this one. I'm going to give you 1.
Yeah,
that's very important to me, and this is one of my favorite lessons I've ever learned. Was straight up. I read this book, and if you haven't heard about it before, go ahead and research it. It's called The 4 Agreements. One of my favorite books in the entire world. And the second agreement in this book is don't take things personally. And that is my one thing that I can try to give to everyone and try to take this in as best as you can. Don't take things personally, because most shit ain't got shit to do with you. And most people's other shit don't have anything to do with you. And when I finally learned that, it was a game changer for me.
No, I like that, bro. I like that. And I think
had to turn the mic up for that one.
Yes, sir. I think that's a great way and a great agreement to be able to leave you guys off with. I'm going to double down on it. Please don't take things personally. As somebody who worked as a clinician for over 5 years, over half a decade, I can tell you that there's so many things that we as humans are going through on a day-to-day basis that has nothing to do with the people that we interact with. Mm-hmm. You don't know if I just had a family member die yesterday or quite honestly an hour ago. You have no idea, but that interaction that we're having, that has nothing to do with you. I'll do my best to make sure that none of my other problems come into those moments that we have, but trust me, please don't take anything personally. Listen to what Stove is telling you, because you'll be able to have a much lighter life, a much easier life where greater things are coming for you when you stop bringing it all to your viewpoint. Trust me, we're all human. We have a lot of crazy stuff that are going on. Right. You know, give them a hug. Give them a little smile. Trust me, you might make their day a little better. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode. Tomorrow we're going to be coming back, and we might even have a little after-hour show for you where we get a little bit deeper into the interrelational dynamics, right?
But we have a good show for him tomorrow with
Tolu Smith.
Tolu.
We got Tolu Smith here. He's playing out here with the Detroit Pistons in the Summer League. You're going to want to check in, be able to get a little insight into how do you go from being a D1 athlete, playing with Mississippi State, to be able to making a Summer League roster. If you want to get the insight on that, we're going to have a current Summer League athlete sitting right here with us, all right? So come on, check on back with us. We'll have Tolu Smith tomorrow. Maybe we'll have an after-hour show for you. We can get some beautiful women in here for you to be able to ask your own questions. So subscribe over to the Rumble Dumb Jocks podcast page. You'll be able to chat in from there. If you want to take it further, go ahead and join the locker room community. You'll be able to get your questions in first, all right? So hopefully we'll be able to see you soon.